Dc33, Matta the Medicine Man. Soul-touching and life-enhancing stories. Matta the Medicine Man. Once upon a time, on the island of Tirna, in the midst of the mountains and the rainforest, small villages were evenly sprinkled out over the slopes. The houses in each village were made of wood and were painted in the most beautiful colors. The owners of each house were really proud of their houses, and they had even made it into a tradition to hand-carve the outside of all the houses, so that each house was like a piece of art by itself. Most people were farmers, carpenters, woodcutters, and some were traders and traveled to distant places to trade their goods. Most villages on the other surrounding islands had medical clinics and even a hospital. None of these villages in Tirna had either one of them. When somebody would get hurt, become sick, or had questions about relationships or children, that person would go to the village medicine man or medicine woman. In one of these villages, no bigger or smaller than the others around, lived Matta, the medicine man. Like all other medicine men, Matta tended to his people, living in his village. He assisted the people by mixing something natural, remedies which he poured in one of the small colorful bottles that were standing on every shelf and every table in his house. To prepare this medicine, it took Matta about 10 to 15 minutes, and the person who came for consultation had to wait in the waiting room after the consultation while he was making the medicine ready. As Matta was preparing the medicine, they could hear the banging of bottles and the smell of a lovely aroma coming from Matta's room. There was also something very unusual which all his patients noticed while they were waiting. It was the sound of a soft, faint crying, which they could only hear for a short while. Then Matta the medicine would come out of the room with the remedy, gave a colorful bottle with some liquids and explained to the person the way the medicine should be taken. For whatever ailment the patient came for, the instructions were always the same. Matta said, "Take one drop out of this bottle each day and continue to do so for 52 days, and your illness or problems will be cured and over." The simple folk that came to him and believed in him did exactly what he told them to do, and the results were amazing. Matta was a simple man and a beautiful soul. He loved his patients, and all of the patients loved him. However, newcomers unfamiliar with Matta and his remedies had a hard time to continue with the remedy for 52 days and went to a neighboring village consulting another medicine man or woman, seeking a faster remedy. Some of these people would return after having tried many other remedies and medicine men and women, and because Matta was then their last hope, then they finally completed the 52 days and their problem would be solved. Other people would talk with disrespect about Matta because after having visited him for several times for different reasons, always got the same tasting potion, which they never completed because they lost trust, because the instructions were always the same. So most of his patients were the simple folk who loved him and those who ended up with Matta, accepting him as their last hope. They learned to love him and respect him after they were cured. Then the day arrived when Matta departed this mortal world. A big farewell celebration was organized by his students, friends, and family members. Most people who had visited Matta in his life came to pay their respects. Also, many people who had visited Matta but went to other medicine men and did not get cured gathered at his funeral. These people were the only ones weeping because they had put their last hope in Matta and now he was no more. For the others, the feeling of the funeral was not a sad one, but one of joy. This was a farewell to a man who had had a content and fulfilling life, a man who had done his duty and had served well. There was plenty of food served and soft, loving tunes were played by a small music band. After Matta's body was cremated by the river, the people returned to the celebration site, gathered, and talked about the wonders that Matta had done for them. They all had brought one of the many colorful bottles that they had received over the years from Matta and hung them on a nearby tree. It was such a colorful sight, and the soft breeze made some of the bottles touch, which created a chime-like goodbye song for Matta. By talking to each other, they came to the realization that Matta had always given them the same medicine, which tasted exactly the same, and the instructions had always been the same. The only difference was the color of the bottle. This was a mystery, and they wondered why his remedy worked when his instructions were followed. These questions could not be answered by Matta anymore, but most likely by Rita, Matta's pupil who had become his successor. She had been with Matta for many years and was now following in his footsteps. Rita was a very quiet young woman, but very devoted. Out of respect, the people did not went over to Rita because they knew her master and teacher had passed on. But shortly after, Rita walked over to the tree where many of Matta's patients were sitting and joined them. Then after a little while they asked her, "Rita, why is it that Matta's medicine, which seemingly was always the same medicine, worked for so many different things? And why did it only work when taken for 52 days?" "It will be an honor to explain this to you," spoke Rita. Matta came from a long line of medicine masters, and his love and respect for his teacher was beyond comprehension. One of the most important things he learned from his teacher was to serve others out of love and out of respect. And Matta the medicine man took this trait of love and respect over from his master. So when he was mixing the potions for all of you as individuals, while you were in the waiting room of his practice, you all heard him cry for just a small moment. All those moments, he was remembering his teacher who had so much love for him and vice versa. And while he cried, tears of love would fall and get mixed in the potion. And it was this love and not the potion that cured you. Matta always used the same ingredients, which were a combination of herbs and flower essences, which have their power of healing. But it was his love, contained in tears, that was the most powerful ingredient in his potions. Anybody who believed in Matta and did exactly what he was told to do, to take the potion for 52 days, those persons were cured. The simple folk that loved and trusted him got cured. Those that got impatient and wanted to feel better faster went to other medicine men and women and kept struggling, not finding the solution. Some of you came back to Matta again and were willing to follow his instructions the second time, and your pain and problems were solved too. The 52 days that you had to take the remedy was another act of love and respect. As you know, the Sanskrit alphabet contains 52 letters, and each letter came to the world through a sound. These sounds coming from the inner regions of the astral skies are vibrating through the physical body. These 52 different sound vibrations were an act of love from the first person who wrote these 52 sounds letters down. It was the love for the eternal sound reflecting itself in the world of man. And what about the colorful bottles? Asked some other people. The colorful bottles were a reminder as well. The eternal light in the world of mind and matter manifested itself in 7 main colors with its endless variations. That there was more to the using of colorful bottles, because it reminded Matta about his teacher. He had explained him this, but was also told that each human was a bottle, to speak so, and each person was a different bottle. But the essence inside was that everlasting love in all of them. His teacher explained Matta about the essence in many ways and had called it the same message and the same essence in a different bottle, or in a different human body, so to speak. As Rita was talking, some tears were coming in her eyes, in remembrance of Matta, her teacher, and you could see that there was so much love that she too had gotten the trade of love and service. And those people in the crowd who recognized this, that she was a real medicine woman, and that she had the same strength of love from her teacher. Then Rita apologized, stood up, and left. Everybody understood that it had not been the potion, but that the love had cured him. And they understood that Rita had the same love as Matta, and when they followed her instructions, they would always get cured as well. What the story could bring us. Whatever we want to achieve or learn, and it is similar as when we are sick and want to be cured, there are instructions which we need to follow in order to get the results. When we want to be cured of the belief that we are human beings, we might have to follow instructions in order to be cured and to find out what we are not. Because that is only what we see in the mirror, but what we truly are, spiritual beings. The medicine and cure will be simple, but the task following instructions that assist to cure the soul from the body, mind and desires, possibly a lifelong struggle. Total surrender, real love and devotion are not easy because our mind is run by the sense organs and negative passions. But again, when we would follow instructions, the same we would follow instructions in worldly affairs, result is guaranteed.